Welcome back, everyone. We are here for our second series of the evening. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi and Mad Magical. Once again, lovely to have you guys as ever as we dive into Cloud9 Academy taking on TSM Academy. Couldn't be more hype. I know, guys. You're gonna say, but guy, the TSM is
That's
at
not
the
what I was
bottom
going
of
to
the
say.
standing.
I was going to say,
Doesn't
you scared me
matter.
when you said it's already
Okay,
the evening.
whatever.
I had to check. It's not even 3 o'clock yet.
It's
not the
even 3
evening yet.
o'clock. I don't know
We
what
got a
you're
couple
talking about.
hours.
Well, it depends where
Whatever.
you are in the country.
Between
East Coast isn't real.
between the West Coast and France, I can't figure it out. All right, what do you want
Oh,
from
what
me?
do I want from you?
Grubhub?
I'm kind of hungry
Yeah.
right now. Can you bring me some Taco Bell?
I am too. I could use a coffee, but maybe
Woo!
this will be the coffee that
Get
we all
pumped up.
need, metaphorically, because we're talking about Cloud9's roster and the surge in academy that they've had. It feels like this team is just insane. Every time they pull up onto the rift, there's something crazy, there's something wacky, there's something fun, and it just is always spicing up the environment. It feels like that other teams are starting to take notice, and we've seen a lot of other teams adapt that style too, but this roster specific, they just do it so much
Yeah,
better.
and the thing that I kind of want to look at is we said at the beginning of the day, one of the narratives that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to today is how do mid laners stand out? And Copy is one of those members that, wait, that's not our roster, is it? Okay.
That is
No,
not
that is
our
not the roster.
Because I
That is
definitely did not
definitely-
prep for the week 1 team. We are in fact playing with a bunch of different members: Darshan, Malice, and Isles.
Don't be distracted
Yeah.
by all
There we
those
go. Yeah, I had to
names.
double
It's
check it
not the
myself.
real team.
I just
It's
made sure on my
fine.
notes and
Okay,
what we've gotten.
We're good.
That is completely wrong.
Hopefully those names will be taken off the screen very,
Yes.
very quickly. But if not,
We
there we
figured it out.
go. All right. So, but because
Yeah.
Copy's still
So,
there at least.
Copy was standing
and
out
King as
quite a bit
well.
in the first bit of the season, right? When they were playing with a lot of substitutes, and he was kind of the veteran on the team and had a lot of early game pressure. But since Malice has joined the team, we haven't necessarily been paying as much attention to him because it's like, oh, look at that, the Karthus and the Evelyn and the Udyrs and the Hekarims. But we got to pay a little bit more attention to how Copy has actually been facilitating him so far. He's still creating a lot of space, and when he has so much freedom to play early on in the game, he's going for some wild stuff like crazy turret dives.
Indeed. It's always very fun to kind of keep track of, especially, and still that 3 tower turret deck. Jeez. Anyways, TSM Academy on the other side been struggling. It's you can't hide from that fact, but I still think that this roster has high hopes.
They got a game off of CLG, man. They were able to 1-1 them. We got to give them praise for that one. And we have to look at how they can move forward from there, what they learned in that game, especially when you look at how they drafted. Because Viper in the top lane playing Smite Karma. I mean, it might not have been able to win, but it was definitely a
Don't do it to my boy.
The fact that they were playing, they're willing to try these strategies, try something else. Also putting Jinyi on
didn't it win?
different picks. Did that one?
I thought for sure that was the one they won.
Was that the one? Maybe I wrote it down wrong in my notes.
Yeah, the Smite Karma.
I must have written it down because I had it the other way around.
Because we definitely have a very different version coming out of TSM overall. And again, as we start looking at it overall, I want to pay a bit more attention to how these mid laners are going to be standing out throughout the course of the day. And Takeover has been one of those players that has been looking for ways to make a lot of plays happen. And we'll get to see a little bit more of that as we roll some of these clips, because Ari last week looked really, really good. I want to point out his target selection once again, right? Notice how he dives past Rosethorn during this play, because that's not the target he needs to worry about. Instead, going directly for Prismal and taking down the 80 carry before returning to the 1 and 5 Rosethorn at the beginning of that play in order to make sure that there are no real threats on the other side of the map.
It's always very interesting, and especially, looking at Copy on this side, I'm not sure. I thought we might have some clips from Copy as well, but it's still, this matchup in specific is so interesting in itself because it feels like a lot of the damage is going to be rested on these two, right? And yes, you can have a lot of the mobility from the side lanes, the jungle specifically, but the mid lane is where a lot of that fighting is going to come down to.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of just looking at we got to talk about Coffee, the elephant in the room with the 3-turret dive on Tryndamere that he had last week. It was just watching that play. You're just like, he's not actually going to keep chasing him, is he? No way. And he just kept going, and he gets the kill. Sure, he ends up dying eventually, but the fact that he went for it in the first place, I love that kind of aggression from this player. It really shows the growth that he had from last year, or even from the year previously, where he got pigeonholed into this more supportive style, where he was really trying to facilitate other members of the team. Now he is really looking like the carry.
Yeah, indeed. And I do want to bring up one last little bit is the fact that like the champion pools we get to see out of these two, and especially like being able to see that be adapted to in the draft, and especially the strategies that both teams kind of unfold. It's always such an interesting question with the way the meta is kind of unfolding itself.
Yeah, well, it does seem like we are getting our way into Champion Select, Lennon, so we might have to release you from your earthly bonds here shortly.
Well, goodbye then.
I release you.
We shall. It's always good having him around myself. We're gonna have to scrap. We had like a whole thing with unique champions, but we got to get ready for the game. The teams are ready to go. So I hope you have a good day. We'll see you soon.
Adieu.
I've
Alrighty, so there we go. We gotta get ready. Like I said, Champion Select already underway. The players kind of been moving fast with this one, so we should dive into the Champion Select as fast as we can. Show everyone what has been happening so far, because for TSM, they do have a lot they can look towards with last week, being able to get that victory. You were right. I had to relook at the notes to make sure it was the Smite Karma game that they were able to win, which is why C9 just banned that away. It's this power that they were able to lord over CLG in that first game, but a change for C9. Instead of grabbing the jungler right out of the gates with the fact that we have Karthus and Evelynn banned away, they get Caitlyn.
Yeah, I also have been very entertained at the fact that the meta on trying to ban out Malice is very complicated, right? There's Evelynn, Karthus, Udyr, Hecarim that he is very, very strong on already, and whoa, I was expecting Hyper to pick up one of Udyr or Hecarim and force Malice to play the other one, but instead going directly for the Volibear, having a little bit more combat power early on in the game, but not necessarily going to be able to match them farm for farm. And so this Volibear coming through does put TSM a little bit on the beat down. They're the team that is going to need to win early. Giving over Caitlyn Lux gives Cloud9 one lane that is going to be making it very difficult for TSM to do that.
And with that Nautilus pick for Shenyu, really does slot into the style we're used to seeing from Shenyu back in the LPL, here over in Academy now, having, briefly in the LCS, but he looked really good last week. And playing more of these engagers, the playmakers, things that start off these fights, can really help to back up someone like Instinct on a Jinx, as well as really follow through when Hyper tries to dive onto these relatively squishy backliners.
We'll see how well Hyper is going to be able to create that space, right? He does have the one ability to go unstoppable and try and find his way on top of King and Isles, who are relatively squishy, with only a couple of tools to slow down anybody diving on top of them. But again, I also want to give a little bit of praise to Shen Yi, because he was a big part of what made TSM look so good against CLG last week, right? His ability to be decisive and go for a lot of these plays and create a lot of space was really important. And as long as he's able to continue creating space for the rest of TSM and being a natural leader for the roster, TSM can start to find a couple more wins. Unfortunately, that task was very difficult today.
Looking at the second part of the bans, a lot of mid lane bans from both sides. But Ahri, the one that we'd seen in the previous series, the first ban each time, gets through and gets taken by Takeover, with Copy not playing something
familiar.
like Tryndamere, not looking for something really flashy. Instead, it's more about how he's able to clear out these waves, play around the side lanes, and really try to help out the rest of the team.
Yeah, does this look familiar at all to you, Magical, the blue side composition? We had 4 of these champions picked earlier by CLG.
You mean like in the last game that I have my notes for right here? Oh, except that pick.
Oh, except that
there
pick. That one's a new one. Yeah. The Caitlyn, Lux, Corki all came out for CLG earlier in the day, and TSM going to be trying a crack at it. But the Tryndamere and Udyr give a very different style to this game. And okay, we were talking about Dokla, his ability to play the Vayne. Viper is a Vayne player through and through. The only thing I worry about it here is while it does decently well into Udyr Tryndamere, it gets heavily outranged by Caitlyn Lux Corki later on. But Viper, going back to his roots, going to be playing another marksman in the top side.
This is where we have to talk about Viper and how he has played so many of these marksmen in top lane. Hell, he played Corki top lane earlier this split. We've seen him play this not only this year, but also previous years. This is something that is really the bread and butter of what we now know from Viper as his style in the top lane. Playing these marksmen, these range characters, try to bully someone like Darshan, playing a Tryndamere that eventually is going to be a scary split push threat.
Yeah, and the big thing that Viper is very aware of is that Malice doesn't tend to gank before his camps are down. So every single time there's a camp up, you can generally be expecting Udyr to be there instead of coming up towards the top lane. So that means that this top lane is going to be relatively isolated for Viper in the 1v1 against Tryndamere. And this is one of those matchups that is very, very focused on a single interaction. How well does Viper actually use his Condemn? Is he going to be able to get Darshan away from him and thereby keep enough space that he can use the auto attacks to beat out the fact that Tryndamere is melee? Or is the Condemn not going to be any good? Is it just going to push you away or not even be used before the spin comes out from Tryndamere, and Tryndamere can then stick to the Vayne? So it's a very, very binary. This is either going to be very heavily in favor of Darshan or very heavily in favor of Viper, but Viper has all the agency.
I also want to change our viewpoint a little bit from top lane to the mid lane.
Let's go mid lane.
Because we were talking about copy and takeover before, but we kind of got that overshadowed with the Tryndamere versus Vayne. Here, playing Corki versus Ahri. Both of these champions have good wave clear, but they also are really good tools to play around side lane, which I was a little surprised, but this just shows you the power both of these mid laners have for the team, that they have these different styles they're able to bring to help out or even get their own leads as we load in onto the Rift for our second series of the day for Week 6.
We start to run down the mid lane. We're also seeing some shenaniganeries.
Yes. Shenaniganeries. Let's go. But a nice ward from Shenyi. Maybe a little wise to that. C9 will walk out towards that third brush, get spotted out. So Instinct and Shenyi immediately are vacating the vicinity, trying to path back up towards takeover.
Yeah, no sweeper. One of the big evolutions of this play that we've been seeing fairly consistently is teams going down with a sweeper in order to try and give the extra little bit of experience towards one of their solo laners to get them level 2 on the first wave. That doesn't happen this time around. Instead, just pings going through and a vision advantage coming out for TSM. But they don't actually have it on one of the camps. They just have it in the place where Malice will be seen transitioning from one side of the map to the other. And it will tell them where Malice might be, especially if Malice walks up towards the top side.
Look at this ward. Look at that ward that was placed down by Hyper. That invade gave a lot, well, attempted invade that came in from C9 gave a lot of time for Hyper to path down, place that ward, spot out the movement of Malice. Now knowing he's on blue buff, they're both on the same sides effectively, and even if it's a power farming jungler in Udyr, Hyper now has this information that he can utilize to try to find plays, especially looking towards this mid lane. If he's able to put copy behind out of the gates while bot lane, there's a little bit of trade back and forth, but I'm not expecting it to go any further than this.
Shenyi's a Chad, man. This is the second time. Remember last week where he just like walked up and just started fighting at level 1? Doing the exact same thing this time around, creating a ton of pressure and putting a lot of bot lanes in uncomfortable spots. Viper, double ghost.
That was a tumble. Ghost for Ghost. Neither top laner has TP. Instead, it's Ghost Flash to look for the chase down potential, also kiting back and away from one another. Hyper will get that level 2 spike to keep Darshan away from the minions as best as possible.
I also want to point out, while this is happening, Hyper and Malice, we're seeing the difference in clear speeds coming out between the two bears. Hyper full camp behind at this point, but he has the Predator. Will be looking to make some early game plays, but this is what Malice loves to do. He loves to create situations where you are forced to make the plays before he is, because he is just going to be out farming you. He's going to be ahead in gold unless you do something. And so Udyr, one of the classic things that we've been seeing over and over, question for us is how is Hyper going to try and make some space around that, and how are copy and takeover going to either facilitate or deny those options?
And that's where I wanted to transition. Thank you, Josh, for talking about this mid lane, because that's what I'm looking at. It's not just the fact that you have Malice on this hyper-clearing Udyr who's going to consistently look to farm up as fast as humanly possible, but when does C9 try to transition that into Copy and tag team this duo of Copy Malice to look for these plays? That's some power that you have with Corki, and even though Corki got nerfed a couple patches ago to not have package up quite as early, I'm still expecting to see Copy try to move around the map with Malice.
I would be a little bit surprised, right? Corki doesn't offer that much early on in the game. I definitely feel like Takeover.
Oh yeah, this is later.
Yeah,
later
eventually. But Hyper tried to make his first play the bottom lane.
Which is a smart call. Make sure that you can punish that Malice is hyper cleared. So you can. Oh, wait a minute. No. This isn't looking good at all. What's going on? You guys needed to have the aggro traded back and forth. You lost Shenyi, and now Hyper is getting chased down. Piltover Peacemaker barely didn't connect.
Crazy turnaround coming out from CLG. Copy uses the teleport, but ends up not being needed just because of how much damage these turrets do early on. Because the wave was already under, the turret had charged up, and Darshan still getting a little bit of damage down up on the top lane. But that's a pretty big mistake coming through for TSM, and it is going to pay dividends for Cloud9 when Hyper uses up so much of his time and his flash trying to go for this first play. Malice, again, you see how far ahead he is in the farm.
I respect the idea behind the play for TSM, but the execution lacked.
Yeah.
It gives over a kill now to Isles on this Lux, the Caitlyn Lux bot lane that is difficult for many to deal with. And the whole idea with that play was to make sure that this Caitlyn can't start crashing minion waves into the turret and start getting plates early on.
Yeah. I also want to give, we keep talking about like how are Copy and Takeover going to stand out? How are they going to be impacting this game? Copy with an instant teleport, even though he doesn't participate in the fight, just showing like he understands they don't need to make proactive plays. They just need to reduce the opportunity for TSM. And as soon as Hyper shows himself for the dive, yeah, exactly. Awareness. He is ready to go down to the bottom side and make sure that nothing good happens for TSM.
I do like that. It shows that he's paying attention as well as the communication with members of C9. And even if the play were successful from TSM, he's there to punish. Yeah. There's a lot of great things that you can read from that play for C9. But on the flip side, for TSM, the play going awry has given a lot of time. And you might as well, but this time, bringing down Takeover, who's level 6, has a flash available. If a good charm can connect, that's going to be a lot that they can utilize. And they're waiting it out while top lane. Ghost has been popped by Darshan. Ghost now from Viper to get away. The flash too, get a little bit of distance. But both sides of the map, neither play fully mounts much.
Yeah, we're going to see how difficult it can be for Tryndamere to really interact with his Vayne. He has to blow both summons, and he only gets both of them in return because Vayne's invisible when the ult is there. But okay, guys, try again, but maybe not try again. Eventually, it's something definition of insanity is expecting different results. But at the same time, Alex, back in the mid lane, Copy is not supposed to be ahead in CS in this lane. This is definitely a lane where Ahri is supposed to be better than Corki early on, and Copy coming out with a lead suddenly means that as we start getting towards our next couple of items, he is going to be way stronger than he would otherwise be, and if he's not getting pressured, he doesn't need to make a pit stop for the Hex Drinker.
Well, that was a lot of time burned by Takeover attempting a play bot lane. But I also do want to kind of talk about the experience differences, where you talk about how Copy shouldn't be ahead, but now that he's level 6, it's going to be a lot easier for him to completely clear out these waves over and over again. But also the fact that Malice with a level lead, that Hyper, who is only level 5 when they attempt that play, doesn't have ult. The turret diving capability that you have with a Volibear obviously comes from his level 6, that power spike. They need that, they want to be able to go for a play like that, especially when you know Malice is on that side of the map as well.
Wherever Malice is, it becomes very difficult to make plays because he's always going to be a little bit ahead, but he's not so far ahead right now. I mean, it's definitely something that is going to be popping up more and more in the aggregate than over any single clear. Is just how much more quickly he's able to move around. And One of the things that we have to pay attention to is this lead coming out for Cloud9 is very, very small, right? It is less than 1,000 gold currently, and is unlikely to get too much bigger for a while, because Cloud9 are still waiting. They still have this mid-game power trough where a lot of their champions aren't necessarily super exciting on one item. They're really looking to just get through that mid-game, and Malice skipping multiple camps to actually come down to the bottom lane and try and create some space, but it might just be a neutral objective trade.
More than likely will, since Hyper and Viper, tag team duo with names as well as synergy, taking that Rift Herald, while Malice here on the Hex Tech Dragon gets Copy's attention as well. The clear speed that you have is Corki, not really threatened by the fact that Takeover is trying his damnedest to clear, to push and crash that minion wave into that tier 1. It's a lot of free time for C9, where they feel pretty powerful, and all they trade is a Rift Herald, which they don't really care that much about. They want to stack these dragons.
Yeah, that's fine. Viper ulting, Darshan is leaving.
Yeah, Darshan doesn't have Flash nor Ghost. It would have been a bit risky. Even if Viper pumps that final hour, he was able to force out Darshan without that TP to get back in the lane, which means that he has to stay in this lane even though he's down to about 50% health.
I mean, but he's Tryndamere, man. He just heals back up. I was also trying to think real briefly, are there any other players with Hyper names? Isn't there a Swiper in Oceania?
Yeah, but he's been around for a while.
Yeah, he's old school. Is he still playing? Do you know? Someone in Twitch chat knows, I'm sure.
That. Yeah, Twitch chat, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know if he's still playing. I feel like he's become a coach now.
I would not be surprised. There are a fair number of those over at Oceania. I just remember the old days where you had like Claire and all the other C names on one team, and then all the S names on the other team. Yeah. But
yeah, I remember that too.
I always loved that. I love when teams have these names, right? Like that Viper, Hyper. You can just
well, that do you remember Otto? He became Hooks. He changed his name. He always tried to keep his name relevant to either what he was trying to accomplish as a player, or if it worked with his teammate. Like he had Otto and he was ADC, and then Phil as a support.
I forgot about that.
I like when players do stuff like that as well.
Yeah. We'll see what other people are willing to change their names in order to get better duo names, because Brismal is not the most exciting one, but Kyle's and
That's lame. No. Get that out of here. I'm not even going to accept that one, because right now we have King and Isles getting threatened a bit. They were able to get a good chunk of change of damage onto Instinct, but he got his own chunk of change onto that tier 1 turret. Good amount of gold for Jinx, which is surprising, because you draft a Caitlyn Lux lane to be the ones crashing minion waves and getting early plates. The fact that you're not getting that for King and Isles is putting this hole on the side of C9, where TSM can feel empowered to look towards the bot lane. They know that they're in the trough. They've got a lot of damage onto King, and the flash doesn't mount enough because the Sky Splitter picked up the kill. Now it's a re-engage for the side of C9. They had threatened to put down Copy into the spot lane to try to refight this fight, but they have to be careful because Takeover was there as well. That's why they both just back out.
Yeah. I feel like we keep trying to talk up the mid laners, but it is Shen Yi who has made all the plays in this game, good and bad. And so far, TSM going to be coming out with a small lead in the bottom half of the map because of how much pressure Shen Yi is putting on the game. At the same time, Hyper is just going to be sticking around trying to make sure all of this crashes, but he's got multiple camps up, and you know what Malice would be saying about that. Going to be going for the Krugs here fairly soon, and I don't think there's a play here.
Well, see, I say it's a small lead for the spot lane, but it's a Jinx.
True.
Getting a lot of, what was that, nearly full plate. It was 4 plates or 3 plates. It was still a lot of plates that Jinx picked up in this bot lane. And you can see that having a 0,000 gold lead over King as Jinx, when Caitlyn starts to feel that weakness, the little bit of a hindrance towards how she can play in this mid game.
Yeah. I made a claim last patch on 12.3 even. I don't think Caitlyn is as good as her ban rate indicates, right? You'd be expecting that Caitlyn should be winning basically every game, but the fact of the matter is, like, these teams are not scrimming with it. And
now King. He's got Gale Force, but he couldn't even use it. He was killed that fast.
Not a lot to do. Shen Yi needs to make sure he's not on the other side of the exact same play.
Yeah, but I think he wants to fight that. That's the difference. He's got a stopwatch available, has a flash as well. Instinct was nearby. It forced TP from Copy to catch this minion wave in mid. These are good things for TSM at the moment. They've got themselves 1,000 gold now over Cloud9. And even if Cloud9 have good scaling options, so does TSM.
True. There are no slouches. You still have the Jinx, you still have the Vayne. You have some great kiting tools going up against the members of Copy King, Isles, and then Melis and Darshan. But the range differential is what I'm worried about, Magical. You see that it's so difficult for anybody to match the rockets of Copy. Yes, I know Instinct's rocket is global, but when you actually have to line up and fight them, it's so difficult to do that kind of damage at the same range once Copy starts getting a couple more items underneath his belt. But until we get there, we have a Dragon. Cloud9 looking to get their second one of the game in the...
Ooh, nice light binding, but the body block from Shen Yi to make sure there's not that damage on the other side. King has to just use the 90 caliber net away with the TP coming in from Takeover on the other side. Malice gets at least Shen Yi to go golden. That's not going to connect, but here's Hyper. He'd pop that Predator, but Copy's on the other side with the package. Go over the wall, waited it out. He sees that the Dragon is available, wants to use it and control this zone instead.
Okay, Copy's got to land a couple rockets here as well in order to get some of the poke down instead. Just going to be starting up the Dragon because he's got the package. TSM wisely going to be backing away and giving this one over to Cloud.
Hyper's not here either. Yeah. Makes sense. It all makes sense.
It all makes sense. You know, you make a logical move, we make a logical move. It's going to be going back and forth. Darshan returning towards the top side of the map, and we see the largest CS lead of the game so far up in top between Viper and Darshan. Only about 20, but Viper, now with multiple friends, is going to be hitting this turret. And if he walks up, he's diveable.
He is. Darshan has that ult, though. That is the saving grace, but they also have the ult of Hyper to get rid of that turret from the equation. Instead of actually utilizing that and going for the dive on Darshan, they just have a drive-by, walk away. They are, we don't actually want to dive you with your ult up.
Yep. I also love the, I call them meh abilities, right? Like, you just throw something out and it's just like, haha, I see you're there, take 20 damage, right? You know, Hyper just throwing out the Sky Splitter. It's not going to do anything to Darshan, really, because he instantly heals it back up. But
well, yeah, not with this build.
Yeah.
That's why you go full AP. Then you do a lot of damage that way.
Well, we can have our own discussions about the merits of Wizard Bear at some point, but...
It's Scare Bear.
Scare Bear?
Wizard Lizard, Scare Bear.
Scare Bear. Is it?
Yeah,
It sounds like the opposite of a Care Bear, which I guess is probably true.
It is! And it's scary! That's the whole point of it, Josh!
Okay. Well, I'm glad that I'm able to keep up as King. It's a little bit of damage down onto Shen Yi as TSM once again getting a Rift Herald for... I don't say for the Dragon, but, you know, they get a Rift Herald and Cloud9 gets a Dragon, so, you know, it's a trade of sorts.
Hey, you know what? A play's a play right now for TSM. They're getting some gold. The gold state is a relatively even spot for both teams. The ebb and flow of this game. The two Dragons for the side of C9 will give them a little bit more looking forward into this game, which is why getting this Rift Herald is critical for TSM. Now it allows them to look towards what I want to think is this mid lane. Popping that Rift Herald, cracking that tier 1, because on the side of C9, they got Caitlyn, they've got Lux, they've got a Corki, all good tools of clearing out minion waves effectively, not really having to worry about giving over these turrets too easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of wave clear on Cloud9, so without Rift Heralds, without Barons, it's kind of difficult for TSM to really beat them down. And I think we're going to continue seeing some problems with that, because the fact that Hyper has picked up a kill and an assist still leaves him a little bit behind where Malice currently is, just in terms of experience and gold. So
isn't that expected?
It's expected, but that's always the challenge that you have playing up against Cloud9. You know, who is going to be creating these early game plays, and Shen Yi maybe catching himself.
Shen Yi is the one making these plays, as you had highlighted before, both good and bad for TSM. Looking for the play in the bot lane, noticing that the Udyr was there as well, allows them this freedom to pop that Rift Herald mid lane as I wanted to see, and even looking for a play in the jungle of Malice, getting a lot of damage with the Charm and Everfrost that can chase it down.
Damage.
With that final spark on the other side, the kill is there. They've taken down Malice, but they traded over to Copy, who's 1v4. The Charm connects with the flash coming in from Takeover, and they get a double kill on top of it all.
Okay, there they go, trying to find Malice in the jungle, stopping his farming and taking him down, and this is the third kill getting picked up by Takeover as well. We were asking how he was going to set himself apart. Finding this early lead means that you have so much ability to create plays later on in the game. So just like in our first series, when we were looking at Harry, who once he built his small early lead, how does he transition to the rest of the game? How do you continue to build that lead? Now the question is, how does Takeover try and recreate that? How does he create all of these plays? As we take a look at the last one, the answer was just sitting in a bush. A good Everfrost into Charm and more crowd control means that Malice can't really move for a long period of time and Takeover just able to take him down with the damage. But the real play is coming around afterwards with a Flash Charm to pick up Copy and make sure that you get even more than just a one free kill.
These plays from this mid laner of TSM Academy are really in a position to now set up the rest of the map for TSM. We haven't seen too much on the top side from Viper playing Bane into Tryndamere. The fact that you have an Ahri 3-0-0 with Everfrost, a needlessly large rod in the inventory as well, and then you look bot lane. These carries for TSM are in the perfect position. You've already got 2 items for your Jinx, and you have the setup from an Ahri.
If Ahri can get all the setup going, it's going to look absolutely crazy. But we also asked, how is Copy going to make himself look good? He's going to be returning to base for the package here very shortly. And he has a teleport, so he can be anywhere on the map at a moment's notice. So both mid laners currently primed and currently ready to have this massive play during this next fight.
Look at how Copy's hanging out in base. There's the TP to join with the fight. And it's an attempt from C9 to now dive, but with good use of the choppers to make sure there's no way out. Hyper and Viper, they're waiting it out. Viper took the most damage, but now they got the kill on a Malice. Garshawn wasn't able to pick up the kill on a Viper instead. It's going to be the package coming in from Copy to split up the members of TSM. They've lost Caitlyn. They've got the flashes all over the place. Copy's fighting with Hyper, but he's taken down. He's got a double kill. Copy! He's turning it around, but here comes Takeover. Both of them, 3 kills. It is an even state of a fight, and that is why Takeover eats the honey fruit instead.
Okay, Takeover doesn't want to take an even fight at all. He's got too many friends around to make that worthwhile, but it is a 2-for-2 at the end of the day. I didn't even see how Copy got the kill onto Jinx. It must have been a rocket, maybe a package, and now he's trying to find the actual dragon, but he gets caught.
Shen Yi, he fights this out. The shield's there to keep Copy going, but unfortunately for the side of C9, they cannot secure the 3rd dragon of the game.
Okay, Copy is the one who looks good in this last fight, but the rest of his team crumbles around him. And just go a little bit too early. And I'm really curious what Copy does to actually pick up Jinx during this last play, because it just seems like he goes past the rest of the team to create a lot of pressure. And I know the package does a lot of burn damage, but Instinct didn't look like he took that much damage initially, right? He doesn't even take any damage from the package. Oh, Instinct walks back into it!
Oh, no!
Instinct! Okay.
Instinct. That's what happened. I was wondering, too, because I saw him fighting Hyper, but I'm like, oh, he got a kill onto Instinct as well. You didn't realize that the package damage was still down on the ground.
Yeah. That package does crazy damage, man. Absolutely bonkers. It does.
And with that, you now have Copy in a great spot. He's bounced back in the game. He not only got that kill on to Instinct, but Hyper as well. 3-1, even if he has a bit of a garage sale build at the moment. He's close to getting that Luden's Tempest. Isles took a lot of damage there, but he's fine.
Yep.
They had enough wiggle room to kite back TSM, which is forcing TSM back towards their base again. They can't really fight too far forward since Viper's in the bot lane clearing out the wave. Takeover, the other member on the side of TSM, the only one who could really match Copy at this moment, was topside.
I also want to take a quick moment to point out how King is doing, Alex, as one of the big players for this team, who's had a long tenured career over in Oceania previously. Having a bit of a rough game right now, right? 0-3, and I credit a lot of this to how well Shen Yi has been playing, but right now, as we look at Caitlyn, we need this character to come online. It needs the Lord Doms to be completed, and after that, hopefully also an Infinity Edge, so you can really start putting the damage out from a long way away. I feel like TSM have done a fantastic job at putting Cloud9 scaling win conditions as far back as they can.
And this is where TSM pull the trigger on the Baron. They want to force a fight. They're getting Cloud9 out of their base so they don't have that wiggle room and safety. Instead, it's going to be Malice, who steps a little too far forward, gets charmed up, takes a lot of damage, even though he turns a lot onto Hyper as well. He's the first casualty. Look at Takeover on the other side. Copy's doing his damnedest to dodge away from the charms and get a little bit of poke onto TSM, but they already got the jungle for TSM, so they lord control over the map.
Yeah, very lucky for Cloud9 that the Everfrost was not long enough to actually catch anybody, because they didn't have the vision. They didn't see where Takeover was during that last play. They could make educated guesses. At the end of the day, it is still Cloud9 a little bit behind. And this is going to be a TSM. If they win this, that would be their second win against one of our top teams by playing this more controlled style. Which, I don't know about you, Magical, but I was not expecting that to be the way that TSM would be winning games. Playing a little bit slower, making calculated plays, and it feels like this is much more comfortable for players like Takeover and Instinct than the kind of crazy aggression that they needed to do to have wins with Hyper and Viper winning.
And here's where I'm going to piss off Twitch chat really quick, because when I look at Chen-Yi, and when he joins in for LCS, a lot of people were critical of how he positioned, how he played. You can kind of see that it seems like night and day for TSM. The shot calling he's been able to provide. While Yurson is a great player with his engages, it seems like there's a whole new level of communication that TSM have been able to rely on. Takeover seems far more confident. Instinct's able to play as far forward as he humanly wants to, while Hyper and Viper are also this tag team duo. It just seems like the entirety of TSM now have a lead.
Yeah, shouldn't use a chat, dude. Okay. Baron's been going on for a little while. Cloud9 currently not in a position to really stop it.
This is where we got to keep our eyes on how Copy can position. Doesn't have package, and with how far Malice was up, he's going to be the first casualty. They trade it 1-for-1, jungle for jungle, but Darshan has to go back over the wall. Jenny's taking a lot of damage. King is trying his damnedest to keep up with him, but it's Takeover, keeping him routed. The damage in from Viper takes down King.
King trying to find his way back into the game, but once again, both King and Malice overextending, and TSM able to punish it. I love the fact that TSM are forcing Cloud9 to come to them. They are the ones who are going to be starting at the Baron. They're the ones who have control over the map. And with another dragon spawning in 30 seconds, the last one went to TSM. Mountain Drakes are the single most valuable dragon in the game. Right, if you can get a Mountain Drake, it's so much better than getting an Infernal, a Cloud, Hextech, whatever. Mountain is just so strong, especially when you have a solo true frontline in this Volibear who's going to just be running around. You want to be very tanky. But again, Copy had a big package last time around. Now he's picked up another kill. He's got a Blighting Jewel, so the magic penetration is coming through.
Yeah. But Takeover has built up Magi's. I'm more excited about that.
Great. Can always count on you to keep track of what stacking items people are going to be building. Takeover.
Oh, Dragon's already gone. Charm connects, and there's Chen-Yi back in. But Chen-Yi, that wasn't the play. That was not the time to go in. You needed to back out of that with your team now having to run for the hills. Even if with the turret in the bot lane, the package comes in. Viper is gone. Shut down by Darshan, and it is Baron time, baby.
King? Is it King time? It's King time.
Is it King time? No, it's Takeover time. Takeover killing King on a rampage as well. I don't think that stops the potential Baron take for C9, but that charm connecting onto Darshan, keeping the fight going. Takeover is making sure that that Baron time is still not for another 5 minutes.
True, here comes Hyper trying to find something. There's no way that TSM are the ones who start up the Baron in a moment, are they? Right? They were the ones who lost multiple members, but Chen-Yi is back on the map, and you only need 180k to do it.
Wait,
TSM are challenging.
Yeah, and look at the timer for Viper. He'll be up in 5 seconds. If they can secure this, he'll still get the buff. They'll have it on all 5 members. The only difference is that Copy does have TP. He's nearby, and they've also got Isles in the wings with Final Spark, waiting to see if they can maybe steal it away. But Chen-Yi positioning himself right in front of it all. Does not want to allow C9 to steal this away. It's so low. Smite secure for Hyper. Darshan with Undying Rage in the pit. He's trying to stem this fight, and they got the shutdown onto 1. Looking for Chen-Yi on the other side. There's 2. The flash is in for TSM. They'll hold it on for 3 members, but Malice make sure that it's going to take a damn while for TSM to utilize and actually buy the items required to go for these pushes.
Okay, Ghost comes through, and Copy still looking for something, not trying to let any member of TSM back away. You need to have as much tempo as possible to get some gold on the map. There are no objective bounties, but still, you need to take down these turrets at the same time. So Cloud9, they get 2 in exchange for the Baron, and they're going to be getting at least 1 turret up here in the top lane. I still think that's still... I would rather be TSM in that particular spot, but TSM, Takeover.
Takeovers found Darshan without an ult, but doesn't have the damage at the moment. Even with the Shadow Flame and 14 stacks on Magi's, not enough damage to burst them through. So let's take a look at the replay. The Baron on the side of TSM, they get this, but it's a great fight afterwards from C9.
Yeah, TSM are just a little bit scattered, and Cloud9 are much more together, and it does mean that it's relatively easy to chase people down. Once you have the win and the extra members on the map, you can just kind of run everybody down. That's the importance of not routing during these kinds of team fights and making sure that you can have some form of semblance so you don't lose too many members. But TSM, now with the Baron, going to be going into the mid lane, should be taking this turret down in the reset.
Pretty easy to get that. Reset's not really going to matter. Instead, it is about toppling every outer structure as humanly possible. Only one tier 2 turret will stand, and that will be the one in the top lane. Viper, he held on and was trying to deny as many minions and wait for his team to rotate towards him before crashing this cannon minion into the inhibitor turret, which I actually kind of like. They see that Darshan's top lane. It gives them a lot of wiggle room to control C9.
Yeah, by delaying the crash in the bottom lane, it gives more time to take over in the mid lane to actually get his wave underneath the turret as well. But this is where Cloud9's composition really starts to come alive. We've constantly said they have a really strong scaling team that they can actually play around. They can play in such a way that makes it difficult for TSM to come in because of the amount of damage that Copy is able to put out. The fact that King and Isles still have these long-range skill shots to use. Takeover.
Takeover's level 17. Darshan's only 15. That is only a second level ult. So Viper dodges in and gets a shutdown. He's dodging away from a lot utilized, but these rockets coming in from Copy will make it a trade of 1-for-1.
Yo, this is a mid lane duel, this game, Magical. Both Copy and Takeover, we asked, are they going to stand out? And both of them are looking really, really strong thus far. Between the two of them, they have half of the kills that have happened in the game. All that they need to do is actually find a way to close things out, because as the game goes longer and longer, the equation goes more and more in Copy's favor. And Takeover, the pressure is on him. The pressure has always been on TSM to win before Cloud9 outscale. And we're getting close. We're getting dangerously close, because King is almost done with his Infinity Edge.
Well, I'm looking at the items from mid lane, not even from this bot lane. The Infinity Edge for King will be nice, but the fact they have 3 items apiece on both sides and nearly having the Rabadon's death cap for Takeover while being level 17, the highest level in the game at the moment, this is the mid lane duel. You talked about this. This is where the power is, and now it's on to Copy. He doesn't have a package to fight around this third dragon that TSM want to secure.
Yeah, that is huge. Copy is going to be missing out on a lot of potential damage, and Takeover on a potential flank could get collapsed upon.
He is getting pinched by C9. He has to bail back into his own jungle, getting chased away by Darshan. But Shen Yi is in the pit. Malice stuns him up. It's down to 50%, but he's going to be able to get the depth charge on to Copy. But it's a final spark kill onto Shen Yi. Now, 4v5 fight. The charm lands. They kill Copy, but they lose out on the dragon. It's a 1-for-1 trade at the moment.
But that's most of the wave clear gone from Cloud9. Copy's the one who is keeping all of these turrets alive. And now he's gone. TSM. Oh, they don't feel strong enough to actually press the issue. So Cloud9 are going to be getting away with Shen Yi and the Dragon, and Darshan now free to hit this bottom lane turret. So that's going to be even more gold going through towards the members of Cloud9. And the 2,000 gold lead means nothing.
Gosh, I was just about to say, this game is so close between the two teams. 2,000 separates them, but we are 30 minutes into the game. There is no objective gold bounty for either side. It is sitting on a nice edge between the two squads to win this game.
Well, the question is, who do you got? Who are you putting your channel points down on?
Okay, look. If I see Magi's, I support Magi's. That's my rule, and a death cap has been completed by Takeover.
Yeah.
So even if before you talk about how Corki is one of these people who can dish out a lot of damage, Ari's still in a position to do the same. To be someone in this point of the game that you have to feel threatened by whenever she steps up.
True. And Takeover has a lot of agency in this game, right? Just being able to go with the charms and make their own plays, whereas Corki, very reactive a lot of the time. So I like the fact that TSM, with the productivity, can look for things, but I have a lot to copy. Like, I think he is really, really good, and the fact that it is now on him to be the one that needs to step up and carry. I don't think we see another misstep like that again. I don't think we see Takeover find another assassination on Copy, and as the rockets will start raining down, I think Cloud9 should be able to take this one.
Either way, it is an epic duel between these two mid laners, and they are living up to what you want to see. How they can stand out here in Academy. With Hyper now getting caught out, he's forced to ult away. He's getting chased down by C9. Malice is still stepping so far forward to make sure that Hyper is all the way back towards the Tier 1 turret. That remains for TSM.
Yeah, TSM, also Viper off on the split. Do remember that he doesn't have teleport. He cannot join the team particularly quickly. And with no objectives that are easy to take for TSM, I feel like Cloud9 are going to have enough time to build more items. There's a Rabadon's almost completed onto Copy as well. Notice he did still his Hex Drinker, so he is not as safe going up against Takeover in the next fight that they actually go for. But it becomes so much more difficult. Notice where Takeover's standing, right? He's chilling. He is
He's looking for the flanks. He's looking for the setup for the team. 5-0-5, 4 items in his inventory with a blasting wand as well. This is still perfect setup with an Everfrost, but the charm didn't connect onto Darshan. He was able to spin to win to survive.
Good reaction time coming out from Darshan. They noticed that they didn't know where Takeover was, and as soon as he saw the particle, instantly spinning away. But that also goes to show what Takeover is trying to do. He's trying to create a lot of pressure. He has the teleport, so he can move around the map. And TSM backing away as a full 5. But there's enough information for them to know that Takeover is also safe. And as Cloud9 clear out all this vision, Takeover remains in the bottom lane.
We'll stop for a second that there was going to be the YOLO Baron start for C9 with the fact that everyone had backed from TSM. But instead, they clear out the minions. You don't want to force anything too much at the moment because it's still incredibly close between these two teams. And with 1 minute and 15 seconds until the Nether Dragon will spawn, that is a potential Mountain Soul for the side of C9.
The Nether Dragon. This isn't Minecraft. But here comes Copy. He should have a package.
Well, he does have a package, and with Baron down to 50%, Darshan has to spin the
Takeover.
win. Look at Takeover on the other side. The catch on to Copy. He used that package to flash over, but he still died to Instinct. And now with the root on to Viper, with an ace in the hole, he had Guardian's Angel so he can survive. King is still kiting it back, but Chen Yi's here to protect his AD carry, but he couldn't do it. He dies instead. They're both gone, but the Baron's still secured by TSM with Instinct now chasing down Darshan. Spin to win over the wall with the heal as well. Even though they lost 2 members with trading only 1 on the side of C9, they get the Baron.
Yo, I take it back. Takeover is cracked, dude. Even though he misses the charm in that fight, he's still able to find all these flanks. Cloud9 not able to do anything about it. And Takeover, once again, coming up huge in that last play. 5-0-6, completely deathless so far in this game. He's going to secure his team not only the Baron, but this upcoming Earth Dragon as well. And that puts them in total control of where this game is going to be going. 3 Mountain Dragons gives you so much resistances.
Wait a minute, they don't have it just yet. Remember, they lost 2 members in that fight. And here's Takeover looking for Darshan. Spin to win, but Malice taking a lot of damage. Instinct looking pretty powerful with 4 items completed for Jinx. They've started up the Dragon. That would be nice to have the 3 Mountain Dragons on their side. But with the charm connecting onto Malice right into the Chompers with the stun coming in from Hyper, it wasn't enough to actually get the kill, but the Rocket sure as hell will. They've got 1 kill for Instinct, getting a lot of damage onto Copy, and with the ace in the hole, barely tickling that of Instinct, they restart up the Dragon, looking for the play. Darshan, Undying Rage, but he's being kite and he's being locked down for days. Even with a kill from one side from King, it is still going to be the Dragon looked for TSM using the ult and getting that 3rd mountain.
Oh, so close. The rockets coming out from Copy were almost enough, but Takeover yet again finding a crucial charm onto Malice, denying an opportunity for Cloud9 to try and contest that Dragon. TSM grinding this out. And again, this is not the way they were playing early on in the series. This is not how they were playing previously in spring. And so just watch how Takeover creates so much pressure. The charm pulling him directly into the Chompers, like you said, giving enough damage. And look at the shield bow basically disappearing from King instantly with the amount of damage that was put through. I'm honestly impressed Cloud9 even gets Shen Yi on the backside of this because it feels so hopeless with the amount of damage that they can do. Copy and King, they're long range, but they aren't so far they can hit the middle of river from up the ramp.
Had it not been for that Gale Force out of King, then you would have survived. That is the real reason he dies. But all in all, it doesn't matter. You get a kill onto the support, but the third dragon of the game. We are now tied in dragons for each side with 37 minutes on the clock, 4 minutes until the final elemental dragon of the game will spawn, and 3.5 until the Baron spawns. This game is going to go the whole distance.
And we'll get to see how long the stamina between these two teams is going to be standing up, because they have more to play after this. This is just game one between these two teams. Cloud9 on the verge of giving up this first game over to TSM, who are rapidly becoming Kingslayers for the Academy season, right? They took down CLG. They're going to be poised to take a game off of Cloud9, another one of their top teams. The only thing that they really have to do after that would be try and find a win off of Golden Guardians.
Hey, they got the win over 100 Thieves as well last week. They're starting to really grow as a squad. Right there, Takeover by himself. 4 members focus on him, perfectly fine. No ult used, no flash used. It was just a simple charm.
Charm is all you need. Lots of damage is able to follow it up, but we get to kind of hold on for a little while. Remember, all the wave clear that Cloud9 has available does mean it's so difficult for TSM to walk up, to actually try and take any of these structures, and the game is going to drag out for a little while longer. Now, one thing that Copy has been doing well is his usage of the package is happening before the objectives actually go down. You do need to use the package before the dragon dies in order to make sure that you still have it available for the next one. And we'll be able to see Cloud9 come out with yet another opportunity to go for a fight. But I don't know what they do before then, because their engage tools are pretty lackluster. It's mostly on Isles finding a binding again.
This might sound weird coming from me.
Yep.
But I think you wait.
You wait.
I think both sides wait.
Run.
Even though Viper gets caught out right here, they didn't need to wait. He overextended. That's an ace in the hole, and that is Darshan picking up the kill.
That's really good. I love the fact that they are preying on the fact that Viper too far forward, but it doesn't get them a whole lot, right? There's no Baron to play for. There's no Dragon to play for. It's a kill.
Josh, I'm going to interrupt you there. Yep. A kill's a kill at this point.
Kill's a kill.
And even though I wanted them to wait, it's still something you'll take. It's a little bit of extra change for the next fights, because we are looking towards the Baron, towards that final mountain dragon of the game spawning. Those are when the fights will really break out between these two squads.
Yeah, but Magical, the reason why I'm kind of not excited about it is the timing matters, right? The fact that Malice and Darshan are now down their Ghost for this upcoming fight is potentially more impactful than the fact that they got 300 gold off of that play. It becomes really, really dangerous for Malice, who's gotten caught a fair number of times. They've been able to prey on the fact that he's going to be the primary face checker for his team, and when he's missing out on a lot of move speed, it's a lot harder for him to actually have an effect on these fights.
True, and the fact that Viper didn't even have the GA up at that moment, so they couldn't even pop that. Now it is up.
Yeah.
That is a useful tool for Viper in this next fight, in the next coming seconds, when we'll see something between either side break out.
If they had gotten the GA, I would have said it's absolutely worth it, right? GA without the passive is not gold efficient. It's not a great item. But when you do have the passive up, it can make or break some of these games. And now, Cloud9, they have the package ready. Copy is flying around, zipping around at the speed of sound. You're too slow. And he's trying to find a way to get in. And Cloud9 take control of the choke point.
Takeover gets spotted out by a blue trinket as well. No more are C9 allowing him to have those angles. Even look at the trap line they have placed down. 13 seconds until the dragon spawns, but Takeover still is hanging out over on this other side of the wall, waiting for a member. There's going to be the Predator pop.
Oh, got him!
Wow! Where did Darshan go? No use of the ult. It is Takeover standing up, but there goes Copy into the back line. They've got the kill over Hyper, but now Malice is fighting Takeover. They've got a double kill for King. Copy splitting up the fight is turning this around for Cloud9. Hyper, Viper, where is he going? He's trying to survive, but the dragon, it is going to be the Mountain Soul secured by C9.
Cloud9 takedown, Takeover, and Copy is the one who has a really big fight during that one. He gets a huge package across the entire team, even after Darshan gets blown up without being able to use his ultimate. But now they can't really move over super safely. There are a couple of members here, but if they're a little bit patient, yeah, they wait for TSM to back up, and now Cloud9 in control. There's no smite coming out from Hyper. He's still in the graveyard, so this should be an easy secure for Cloud9, getting both the Mountain Soul and the Baron buff.
At first, it seemed great for TSM. bursting down Darshan before his ult, but Copy, the hero of the team, splitting up TSM so that they can then get each member of TSM one by one.
And they fall one by one. Where was Gondor during this play? But Darshan getting caught the charm, all the burst damage coming through, he just wasn't ready. Too slow on the ultimate. And it looks pretty darn good, but Copy going across, splitting up the fight, preventing Instinct and Viper from doing the damage that they need to. And once he's able to get his way on out to defend himself from the onslaught of Instinct, he's able to rejoin the rest of his team. But TSM, now as we return to live, hiding in a bush, trying to create some pressure, and Shen Yi looking for a flank angle.
Waiting for it. There's Isles, though. Spots them out. The Predator popped by Hyper. Malice and King are pathing towards Darshan. They should be safe. Cloud9 right now, they are in a perfect position. They might not have the gold lead, but having that Mountain Dragon, making it a little bit more difficult for TSM to burst through some of their tankier members, while they themselves can do so much damage. And even look at Copy's inventory. Full items for this Corki, with the GEA built as well.
Guardian Angel, not something you tend to see on the Corki, but it will work, right? You just need to keep yourself alive, and as long as you can retreat afterwards, the Guardian Angel will be very, very valuable. But you see, he's just moving in the mid lane right now, trying to throw out some rockets, get some pressure down. Fortunately, hasn't landed any just quite yet, but it's still going to be the turret dying.
It's going to be that first inhibitor turret before the side of TSM falling. And now it is still the siege out of C9. They've got a lot of damage onto this inhibitor. TSM are not just laying over, though. They're trying their best to see if they can get a little bit of poke to connect. But with these shields from the Mountain Soul, it is so difficult to actually have anything that's going to stick. That's why the pull onto Malice isn't that effective. They've got way more damage onto Shen Yi, so they can get the kill for Copy and then turn their attention. But they got it kind of back still at the moment, with Copy taking a lot of damage that came in from Instinct. The crits were there, but there's King taking down Hyper. But they got the burst of damage on all the members. They've sliced them apart. C9 are here to win. They've turned this game around 44 minutes in, and they will take game one.
It took them quite a while, but Cloud9 feeling inevitable yet again. Copy having such a great time during some of these mid-game team fights, but King at the very end able to step up. He was having a rough time. 0-4 to start this game off.
0-5. He went 0-5,
and
C9 turn it around for this first game of our best of
6 straight kills coming out from King in order to bring himself back and making the last couple of shots necessary to actually find the kills that won them the game. It looked pretty darn good for TSM for so long. Takeover had a great game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to get them across the finish line, but even bringing themselves to this point, Magical, you have to know that that's going to be something that they can look back on, and even though they didn't win, they can look back on it with pride.
The thing is, what ended up happening was the scaling that you had talked about so much, Josh, ended up working out for C9. Look at how much damage Copy was able to do. King as well on this Caitlyn. He had been so far behind, and finally, with the items completed, I was ignoring King for a bit because Copy was really absorbing a lot of the attention throughout that game. But at the end, King showed what happens on Caitlyn when you get full build.
You do a lot of damage. That's what you do. From a long range as well, and it was kind of crazy seeing how much he was able to step up in the last couple of fights, just knowing this champion in and out. And the Caitlyn, again, doesn't feel super great in the mid game still, even with collector builds that allow you to avoid most of the worst parts of the trough power that you typically go through. It takes a long time for Caitlyn to come back online, so props to him for the resiliency and his willingness to try and make plays. But this was a game dominated by 2 mid laners, Magical. Both Copy and Takeover looking really, really strong. And I feel like once we've challenged them on air, like, how are you guys going to stand out? They step up.
They did, and that they did. It was a great showing from both of them. But only one team can take victory, and that was C9 in that game. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, our wonderful host of Mazel will be here for our halftime show. Make sure you stay tuned.